Welcome back to the 11th hour. We welcome Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat representing the great state of Minnesota. She sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, which was the venue for then FBI Director James Comey's last round of testimony on the Russia investigation. Senator, thanks for coming on. I just want your initial reaction to what you read from Comey today.
Well, I think we got a very, very detailed accounting here, and there were some things that people had heard in the news and some things that were unexpected. The fact that he had all these repeated conversations with the president when he had had very few with President Obama, that was news to a lot of people. The fact that he felt so pressured and that the president had used those exact words, "I want your loyalty, I expect your loyalty." The fact that he had told him, which many of us had read about in the news but had never confirmed, that he wanted him to just leave the Flynn investigation go, which was very significant. And then finally, the last thing, that he had actually asked him to go out there and spin for him and exonerate him. A lot of those things were startling, and I would agree with some of your past panelists, Brian, that one of the things that we want to hear out of the Intelligence Committee is to get to the bottom of how Director Comey felt about this. He's a, here are the facts, ma'am guy. That's why he was asked to head up the FBI. I was a classmate and someone I knew him well in law school, so I know what he's like, and I think it'll be very important for them to get to the bottom of those other conversations, as well as how was he feeling about this and how did he perceive what the president was doing. I think it's pretty obvious from the facts, but those are questions that aren't laid out in this testimony.
Now, I've heard surrogates of the president say, look, the guy's new to government. He came from the private sector. That's why the American people hired him for this job. He's not a lawyer. He didn't know the ways of Washington. Is any of that any defense? I
think the law is the law, and that's something that Director Mueller, who is the special prosecutor here, is going to have to determine. I don't think any senator or politician can define this as what it is, but the law is the law. And I can tell you, as a brand new senator, I knew that it was important not to ever try to influence any investigation. We saw all of that unfold with the Alberto Gonzales episodes and what happened when people tried to call and influence investigations and politicize things. You just don't do that. That is a cardinal rule of the Justice Department, and I think any president should know that.
I want to ask you about John McCain, one of your notable colleagues in the Senate. He is not on Intel, but he is the chairman of Armed Services. So is it senatorial courtesy? He's going to sit in tomorrow, and he's going to ask questions tomorrow, and I imagine he's one of the senators you'll be watching closely.
Well, of course, and I will say it's John McCain, under the rules of that committee as head of Armed Services, is allowed to sit in and ask questions. It's entirely appropriate. And one of the things that's so interesting about this hearing and important is that those senators have to go in there tomorrow not as partisans, but as patriots. And there's no better definition of that than John McCain. And it is really important that it's not just the Democrats that are asking probing questions here, but the Republicans as well. Many of them have respect for Jim Comey. They expressed that publicly. Many of the Republicans and Democrats when he was fired. And I think you're going to see a different kind of lineup here. It's not going to be just one side does one thing, the other side does the other. It's really important that they get to the bottom of this for the American people.
Senator, the last U.S. Senator we interviewed on this broadcast was one Al Franken of Minnesota. And I hereby declare Minnesota is at a 100% level of giving in terms of interviews with members of the Senate. It's now incumbent on the other 49 states to send each of their senators to this broadcast. But thank you.
Okay, we'll put that challenge out to them.
Yes,
I'm
sure they got nothing better to do. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.